Hello, everyone, and welcome to Industries Live. Welcome to everybody from around the world that is joining. I am joining from Little Canada, Minnesota. I'm originally from Canada and joining from Little Canada. And today happens to be Canada Day. So if you're watching this on the video on demand, this is July 1st that we're recording this, and it is a fantastic day. Happy Canada Day to everybody that's joining us from around the world. And we would love to hear where you're joining us from. So please drop that in the chat and also drop any questions you have of us and our guests in the chat as well. I'm Dr. Karen Hildebrand. I lead our partner solutions architects for a number of our industries at AWS. So I lead partner solutions architects across financial services, healthcare and life sciences, telecommunications, media, entertainment, games, which we'll be talking about today, and sports. And I'm co-hosting today with Aaron. Aaron, would you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Karen. I'm Aaron Pulkka. I lead the global partner strategy at AWS for games and immersive experiences within media, entertainment, games, and sports. And I'm really excited to be joining everyone today to be diving into the world of AWS for games and specifically talking about player acquisition, engagement, and monetization. We think about AWS for games within the build, run, grow framework. And grow is the part where we really focus on player acquisition, engagement, monetization, which is a mouthful. But we're going to dive into that and talk with partners about how we can better grow our games and retain players. Which building games, I've been in the games industry for about 30 years, and it's always a lot of work to get the game built. But then once it's built, we have to get users to players to have fun with the game, engage with it, understand what their pain points might be, and try to make it better. And this is what this is all about.
Amazing. And we have people joining us from Los Angeles, Oregon, India. I want to see where else everybody's joining us from. So please drop that in the chat. And with that, let's welcome our first guests from Databricks on the screen, and we'll have them introduce themselves. All right, Hunting, start us off. Quick introduction.
Thank you, Karen. My name is Huntting Buckley, and I lead global strategy for games here at Databricks. Look, 37% of players play for escapism, and I'm one of them. Middle school was incredibly rough for me, and games got me through it. Look, working on games is not something I ever thought was possible. Not a creative person at all, unless you count spreadsheets. But about 8 years ago, I was asked by a friend to apply for a job selling into and serving game companies. Studied hundreds of hours, went for the interview, applied, was not chosen. I gave up momentarily, but as the saying goes, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Or the more geeky, never give up, never surrender. Look, if games are your passion, there are tons of interesting jobs in it of all disciplines. Go for it. Max.
Thanks for the introduction, Hunting. My name is Max Nienu. I'm a solution architect here at Databricks. Also a gamer. And like Hunting, I was part of the 37%. I have been a gamer most of my life, although I don't have enough time to play these days. But one of the things that, I found also was that I didn't know how to get into gaming. I didn't set out to get into gaming, but it was something that, I've always done. And so combining 2 passions that I love, right? Data and gaming, just has made work a lot more fun for me. And so if you are looking to get into gaming, just know that there are several pathways to get into it. So yeah, thank you very much.
I love that. And I think that really speaks to the fact that this audience will be able to relate to what you're talking about, whether they've ever played a game or if they're just interested in understanding what their kids are playing and how this is relevant to their professional lives. Also, the onboarding ramp to being part of the gaming industry without necessarily needing to have kind of that 100% gamer mentality. There's lots of different ways of onboarding into each of the kind of career trajectories. So I really appreciate your outlining that, because I think being approachable in terms of what our tech careers is really important as well. So thanks for kind of covering that broader view as well. So let's zoom into what Databricks does, because we probably have all heard about Databricks across a number of industries, but let's talk about specifically what's Databricks doing in games.
Yeah. So, Karen, Databricks is a data platform. What does that mean? It just means all the things that you need to get data from your games or from your players or from wherever data is being produced through data quality checks, through transformations, through augmentation, to then ultimately generate some level of insight that you can deploy back to your players. So as you see players struggling in a quest, you might use generative AI or an LLM or something to help frame what they should do next, the quests closest to them, whatever it is that you can do to create a player-centric experience. Databricks provides the data platform, the governance with the Unity catalog to be able to make that a reality. Max, anything I missed that you want to add?
I think you hit that on the head.
Now, Karen, a topic that is coming up a lot is obviously generative AI, particularly in games, and not always in a positive light. Because look, creative focused generative AI is scary. It still is, but it is being used and should be done so responsibly. You've seen examples recently with Epic and the Darth Vader voice in positive and negative lights there. Just the other day, there was a lot of hubaloo around the altars and some generative AI that was used during production that wasn't supposed to make it into the final game. What was really interesting in these two cases was how the companies accepted kind of the outcomes and explained what was going on, learned from it, and then took immediate action. While there's a lot of vitriol on it right now, you do it the right way, and everyone will understand.
And I think that's one of the cool things about what you all get to see is that AI in general, and this is not new, whether it's generative AI or AI, there's been a conversation of good versus bad uses of it, understanding what that line is. I think engaging with that is a great conversation to say, kind of, where is that line? What are you seeing? More broadly as well, like, what are the trends that you are seeing in games that customers are asking you about and engaging you to say, give us a sense of a framework, give us a sense of how to solve this problem? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think we've got a slide that we can pull up whenever you get the chance. Awesome. Look, we talked about the creative side of generative AI, but there is a ton of boring AI out there that is a great way to start. And we're often asked, like, what is a generative AI use case? Frankly, in our mind, all use cases in games are generative AI use cases, because it isn't how do I do all of this thing with it? It's how do I apply generative AI to my data? How do I improve the player support experience, perhaps using RAG chatbots, knowledge-based integrations, agents, etc.? And how do I boost the productivity of my developers so that not so that they can create more AI slop? None of us want that, but instead so they can get games out to market more quickly or iterate on them, especially at the beginning, so that they can get to the fun faster and release a successful game.
So I feel like any gamer out there would have to be the only person who could read that slide fast enough to have been able to see all those use cases. So if anybody that's watching has been able to read all of those, I want you to drop that in the chat, because I'm going to be super impressed. Aaron,
well, this will be recorded, and anyone that didn't take a screenshot can do so afterward.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
With that, though, I'd love for Max to show kind of a little bit of what this looks like.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Let me share my screen and I can show you what combining my passion of data engineering and gaming looks like. So
Cool.
we're pulling in. So think about it. You're a gamer. Every time you play a game, you probably want to go review or see what people are saying about games, right? So what we did here was we pulled down a lot of the different reviews from a lot of games. But what I'm showing here is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And if you look at what the reviews are, you can see that in October 2024, we had a lot of reviews, and it probably coincided with a new patch or like a new update. And you can see that over time, the number of reviews have gone down. But one thing I want to show you here is if you look at these, what we're using Databricks as a platform to do is to ingest a lot of this feedback, or all of them. And then we're using AI to look at the overall sentiment of the review. So let's look at this. This user said $70 is a crazy price, but this is also one of the better Black Ops, right? And AI is basically saying, hey, this is a positive sentiment. And then it's summarizing this as saying, hey, this is pricey, but good. And so basically, this allows you to go through thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of reviews and be able to do a lot of summarization. So instead of you coming in the morning as a gamer or like a game designer, coming in and having to weave through a lot of these different reviews, what we allow you to do is to basically summarize these. And what we've created some of these different reports. So think about yourself as working in like the gaming industry as a game designer, community manager, or a marketer. So one thing you can do when you come in here is we're allowing you to basically come in and say, hey, let's say Karen is a game designer, right? When Karen comes in the morning, what she's going to do here is she's going to select that she's a game designer. She wants to see the reviews over the last, let's say, 24 hours. We are leveraging LLMs to basically go through hundreds of thousands of reviews and summarize it and generate a report that basically tells her, like, summarizes all the reviews instead of Karen having to go through all these reviews line by line. So you can see here that the overall sentiment is negative, right? 906 out of 1790 total reviews are negative. Right, and you can see here the AI pulls out one of these reviews and says, you're not purchasing a game, but a DLC for the Call of Duty launcher. And basically, what this allows you to do is see how your users are interacting with the games, whether they're happy with it, they're frustrated with all the things that are going on in the game, or like it's kind of neutral. So this kind of allows you to use LLMs in what we call a boring way. Like this, you don't want to have to do all of this by hand. And so this is what machine learning models are really, really good at. They can traverse through millions and hundreds of thousands of different data points and summarize them for you.
And
That absolutely makes sense. I'm going to ask a quick question here. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, I noticed when you pulled that drop down at the top between game designer and other roles, we talked earlier about the games industry is a really multifaceted industry with a lot of different disciplines. You've got game designer, community manager, and marketer. It's just really interesting to see how those reports might be different. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so let me just pull something from the marketer. So what we're actually doing here is we're saying that the different personas need to see different things, right? And so if you think about what a marketer is doing or community manager is doing, they want to see things from their perspective. So what we did behind the scenes was we prompted the AI to say, hey, I am a game designer, and these are the things I care about. Right. And so once we told it the list of parameters that like a marketer or a community manager or game designer would care about, we basically went and said, hey, these are the parameters that every time I tell you to generate a report, I want you to generate the report using these parameters. So we want these reports to be relevant to the different personas in the gaming industry.
That's awesome.
I want to call out a couple things that Max mentioned, because they're hyper important. We've been doing natural language processing, sentiment analysis, and the likes for ages, right? And if you knew the terms and the words that you were looking for, you could do this with traditional machine learning. Where the LLM is bringing something unique and different here on the extraction side is we're saying we don't know what people are going to be talking about. LLM, please go find those entities, the stuff that people are talking very positively or very negatively about, pull that out and make it structured so that we can actually learn something from it. So that's one. Two, these reports, and we're showing it here in the form of a Databricks app. But in reality, what this is this is an email. You wake up every morning, you go to the office, and this email is there with what you care about front and center. And we have clients doing this literally today. And this use case, this approach to looking at your reviews is probably one of the easiest, quickest, perhaps most impactful first applications of an LLM within a game company. Whether you are pre-production and you're trying to learn about other games that are similar to yours and how people talk about them, or if you've already gone live and are trying to ensure that the content that you're producing is landing well with your players.
So say I'm a CIO, I'm sitting in the C-suite. That's
Okay.
often who I end up talking to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
My biggest concern after watching this is I understand the reputational benefit to this. Like I see it, I'm instantly like, I can see that my team could benefit from this, especially based on the different personas.
Yep.
Max, technically, how fast can I get started? I not in a salesy way, but if I'm thinking I put my IT hat on, I'm CIO, what does this look like?
So what this looks like is you want to think about your data source. So like, look, with the player feedback analysis, you can be up and running if you have data on Steam or another data source that has reviews in about 24 hours, right? We can get you like all of this up and running very, very quickly. And a lot of these are kind of turnkey and ready to go. Like we are ready to send a lot of these that we've done. And you can work with our teams and we can get you up and running very quickly. So like the base of the point is that, look, these sound very complicated, but they're very easy. Like what we're doing is we have built a framework that basically abstracts the complexity of doing everything behind the scenes. And so you get to do what you care about. You care about how your game is performing. You care about how your users are interacting with the game, and you care about like what the feedback that's coming back looks like. And so we want to take all the plumbing out of the equation for you. We want to be able to hand this to you and help you run your organizations and your games much more efficiently.
Okay,
Karen,
so I heard out of that, sorry, go ahead, Hunting.
I say, because whenever we say 24 hours, people kind of, that's just a random number that you threw out there. This is true. This is real, right? We've had in the last month 3 different clients that from the moment they said, we want this, to the moment that they were deployed was less than 24 hours. Now, if you're brand new, you don't have Databricks stood up, it's going to take you a little bit of time to set it up, but we have Databricks Express, especially if you are a startup or an indie studio that you just want to get running and going. That'll help you get from zero to production much more quickly. But here's the thing. We're a data platform, right? The goal of a data platform is not to do a single thing, but to bring together a bunch of disparate data and link it together to make better ultimate decisions. So player feedback analysis is a great first step, is a first start. But then when you take, say, the Steam sales API that they released a couple days ago, or the revenue information that you're getting from your publisher, or your user acquisition funnel data, and you take that and you mirror it, look at it next to your player feedback to see what the impact is on that feedback on your revenue trends, that's where you start to find really interesting things, particularly from the game designer perspective, right? What are the features that your most spending or most engaged players care the most about, positively or negatively? Maybe that's where we should put our attention.
Aaron, you've just gotten back from kind of a whirlwind around the world tour in Japan and Korea, talking to games customers and games partners. Are these the kind of trends that you're seeing? What are you seeing when you're doing all of this gaming travel most recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's trying to figure out how to connect with their players and make better experiences for them. And it is increasingly a challenge in the industry to reach new players and to keep those players that you have engaged. And so it is daunting. There's so many different aspects to look at it. And we have those 20 some use cases that we were looking at before. Each one of those presents its own set of challenges. So, and it is really interesting to deep dive into this one, but yeah, it gets me thinking about all the other ways that we can use this data. Everyone knows that they need analytics, but they're not sure what for, and they're not sure which data to capture. How do you approach even establishing that set of rules for what things we should be capturing so that you can do all of those things?
Oh,
Let me.
that's a big question, Aaron, and you know it is, and hence why you asked it, right? Look, there's the obvious first thing to state, which is there are many regulations out there that are specific to age groups and other protected groups. You obviously should always comply with all of those. That's one. Two, GDPR, regardless of where you're thinking about releasing your game, is something that you're going to have to manage and think about. So CCPA, GDPR. With GDPR, it's all about consent, explicit consent. So just be honest with your players. It's what they want. If you show them the value of the data that you're collecting on them and how it helps them in their experience so that you can bring them a more valuable player-centric experience, most of them will be happy to allow you to use that data. And then the ultimate final real answer is more. The more that you can track, the more that you keep track of, the better. Because we had 30, I think it's 37 boxes on that slide. In 3 to 5 years, it's going to be 50. It's going to be 60. It's going to be a bunch of things that you did not think that you had to actually care about today. And so if you didn't track keystrokes or the playthrough for a player, and now you're released, you're 6 months later, you've lost everything from your golden cohort, your most engaged players.
And I always say that storage is cheap now. Like,
Yep.
store as much as you can. Be honest, obviously, with who you're collecting data on, but storage is cheap. You'll find use cases for it potentially in the future that aren't even technically possible today. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
I always like to ask this softball question, mostly because I think everybody's career is really unique that's here on Industries Live. What is potentially the most impactful customer that you've worked with that you can publicly talk about, and just tell us what you did?
Max, you want to kick us off?
I don't know if I can say his name out loud.
That was not a trick question. Sorry, Max.
Look, actually, Ryan, if you could pull up that slide that we were talking about a moment ago, it'll be a good backdrop for cool. So I'm going to answer your question, Karen, and I'm also going to answer Aaron's question at the same time. Sega EU has been working very closely with us a lot of what you saw today is, say, a reimagining of different things that we've heard them doing over the years. They've shared with others publicly, and really their focus, their goal is to ensure that their players are always having a good time and are engaging with their game, and that they continue to create engaging experiences. So all of the things here, well, most of the things here, are things that they are doing today, but these are also just great ways to start your GenAI story with in games. Conversational analytics, we didn't touch on too deeply, but this is just natural language against your data. So think like ChatGPT, but against your own data sets, so that you're a game designer trying to figure out, say, what the current meta is and weapons that are not being used that might need to be buffed. This is something that conversational analytics can help you do, instead of you going to your data analyst and saying, hey, here's this report that I want. Can you get it to me soon? And they say, sure, 2 weeks from now. But then the report doesn't even answer the question you're looking for. That's the goal of this. So we recently had 2K Games speaking at Data and AI Summit, player-centric experience, the recent golf game, PGA Tour, like all these things. Look,
I was gonna say, I always try not to stump you, but like these are all amazing stories that you've been able to work on. And I have to say, we actually are near the end of our half hour. So I promise I won't ask you too many hard questions. Actually, I probably will, but 30 seconds or less. I'm gonna put Aaron on the spot first so the two of you have time to think about this.
Okay.
30-second recap. If people can't watch the full half hour, what was the most interesting thing that you hope they walk away from in the next 30 seconds?
I think it's really important to remember that as storage has gotten cheaper, it's best to capture all the data that you can, pull it all together, and begin to look at the different ways in which you can use that to make better player experiences and to engage with the players that you're looking to bring onto your game. Now is easier than ever to do that, and it's fast and easy to get up and running to make better player experiences.
Right on. Hunting, and then Max, your last.
All right.
GenAI is not the answer to a single question. It is not the answer. It is a piece of the answer to all the questions that you might be trying to do. And we didn't say this out loud, but it's important to note, working with partners that understand your industry, that understand what you do and how these things will apply, is almost more important than the technology that they produce. So one of the things that we've done, we focused a lot on, is thought leadership. I think we'll put up the link later, but search for my name and Databricks blogs, and you'll find, I think it's 15 now, articles on just different ways that data applies in games.
That's awesome. Max.
I'll say embrace data, embrace AI. And one thing I do want to add here is, like, you will be able to do a lot of things like that are harder to do like manually. And so you think about building models to do like a lot of the use cases that we flashed up on the screen. And so leveraging data and leveraging the AI models will actually help you be able to do a lot of the things that you think are just way out there to be able to do. And if you think they're too hard, call Hunting, call me. We will help you solve those tough problems with data and AI.
Okay, I love that as a call to action. People can just reach out to the two of you and you'll help them with what we talked about. And I love the fact that you were like, okay, we just showed you how we can do this. And in 24 hours or less and an express onboarding, it can be really fast. So being able to say, cool, I saw this today. Let me see if it works here. And knowing that industry context also makes you faster. I think those are all good takeaways. So with that, every other Tuesday, Industries Live is live. We are coming back on in 30 seconds with Modulate. And in the meantime, please fill out the survey because we love to give our speakers feedback about how this session went. So hit that QR code, fill out the survey, and we will be back in 30 seconds once I've had a sip of water. Thank you again, Databricks, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, everyone.
Aaron.
Thank you all.
Thanks.